Is this the airport connection Chicago is missing? Chicago O'Hare is one of the largest and busiest airports in the world. It is used by over 54 million passengers a year, with more than 2,500 flights leaving daily. To accommodate so much traffic, O'Hare is located on a large piece of land quite some distance away from the city. Of course, there are plenty of highways that reach the airport, but O'Hare also has a transit connection. The CTA Blue Line, part of the L system, connects the western suburbs of Chicago with downtown, the northwestern suburbs, the city of Rosemont, and O'Hare International Airport. Journey time from downtown to the airport is about 40 minutes, not too bad. Fares cost $2.50 to go to O'Hare and $5 if you're traveling from the airport. However, the Blue Line has no regularly scheduled express service, and so every journey is slow, with trains stopping at all stations. The trains are very loud, they get crowded during the day, and may occasionally feel unsafe at night. Let's look at how some other countries handle their airport rail connections. In many cities across the globe, airports are connected to their cities by either the subway system, like Chicago, or the regional rail network. Major airports, like Frankfurt in Germany or Schiphol in the Netherlands, are also served by domestic and international long-distance trains. But perhaps more convenient are these so-called airport access trains. The Narita Express in Tokyo is a good example of this. These trains make a limited number of stops and use a dedicated fleet to connect different parts of a city with its major airport. So, what about Chicago? Could we have a direct city-to-airport train in the Windy City? Turns out, Chicago has a little-known and little-used second rail connection to O'Hare Airport. In today's video, I will be discussing the Metra North Central Service. Metra is Chicago's commuter rail system. It is made up of 11 lines with varying levels of service. The North Central Service runs from Union Station to Antioch, Illinois. There are 6 trains a day in each direction, and only on weekdays. Most service runs in the rush hour direction, into Chicago in the morning, out of Chicago in the afternoon. Only one train pair runs reverse rush service. The line opened in 1996, and so far it is the only new service that started after Metra came into existence in the 1980s. All the other Metra lines were already existing services that became part of the Metra brand. While the North Central Service wasn't created to serve O'Hare, it is possible to reach the airport using this line. So first, let's ride the North Central Service from Union Station to O'Hare to see what it's like today. Then, I'll mention how I would improve this service and why I think it could work. Our trip today starts at Chicago Union Station, which, by the way, looks like this from the sky. When I saw this, I was surprised that the arch of the main hall is shorter than the rest of the building. Union Station is the main hub for all long-distance trains in Chicago, and it's also served by 6 of the 11 Metra commuter lines. The main hall is an attraction in and of itself, and whenever I have to get on a train here, I always make sure to give myself some time just to be in this space and enjoy it. Every time I'm here, I'm like, ugh, I wish I was taking Amtrak. No, today's a Metra day. Now, I have the Ventra app on my phone, which allows me to purchase tickets easily online. But since I have a little bit of time, I'm gonna go purchase a ticket from a machine because I like keeping them as souvenirs. Metra ticket machines are not common throughout the network, so I really would recommend buying your tickets on the Ventra app. Paying in cash with the conductor on board is also an option. This machine wasn't even working, so I went to the ticket office to buy my ticket. Wow, buying it at the gate was so easy, and the ticket is so cool. A one-way from Union Station to O'Hare costs $6.25, so more than the fare on the Blue Line. North Central Service trains leave from the North Concourse at Union Station. The nice part about taking Metra out of here is the fact that you can just go straight to the platforms. For Amtrak, you have to go into a waiting room first and then board through gates, kind of like at an airport. But our North Central Service train was already waiting for us, so I could just pick a car and get on. These trains are the famous gallery cars that Metra uses throughout their entire network. They're not necessarily beloved by all, but they're certainly unique. Both have a full bottom floor and then 2 balconies with seats on either side. This is so that a conductor can check all tickets without having to go to both floors. A large baggage rack is also available, but of course that does not stop some people from just dumping all their stuff on the seats anyways. We depart Union Station right on time. For the first part of our journey, the tracks we run on are actually owned by Metra. This isn't always the case in the US, and many passenger trains, including some Metro trains, run on tracks owned and dispatched by freight railroads. The seats are comfy enough, and I think these are air vents. Our first stop is Western Avenue. You can transfer to the Milwaukee District North Line, which will branch off a little later. Our next station will be River Grove, which means we will be skipping several intermediate stations. These stops are served by the Milwaukee District West Line.
This is Western Avenue.
That train over there is a Union Pacific West Line train headed towards Elburn. And right in front of us is an Amtrak Hiawatha train coming from Milwaukee. Up front is the Veterans Cabbage Car. At the junction where the Milwaukee North splits off from our line, there was a Canadian Pacific track evaluation train waiting for us. While these lines are owned by Metra, Canadian Pacific has the right to operate their freight trains over them. The exit out of Chicago is always slow, no matter what Metra line you're on. But as we head west, we do begin to pick up some speed.
This is River Grove.
After River Grove Station, the Milwaukee West Line crosses the Canadian National Waukesha subdivision. There is a connecting track between the two lines, and our North Central train takes that connecting track. Now we're on the Waukesha sub, and this train will continue north to Antioch, right by the border with Wisconsin. Before O'Hare transfer, our train stops at Franklin Park, Schiller Park, and Rosemont. All these stations opened in 2006, making them among the newest in the Metra network. The sight of airplanes means we're arriving at O'Hare transfer.
This is O'Hare transfer.
So, this is O'Hare Transfer Metro Station. I always wanted to know what this place looked like ever since I found out it existed. So, the CTA Blue Line has a nice station inside the terminal with 3 tracks. How does Metro Station compare? For a train station, it's modest. Platforms, little shack over there. It's triple tracked, which is good. It took about 45 minutes to get from Union Station over here, so not much faster than the Blue Line, but with less stops. O'Hare Transfer is the level of basic that you'll find at many metro stations. It's a platform, 1 or 2 signs, and once they built that, they called it a day. Hey, wait, don't be so harsh. This place has a bench. 1 whole bench. Wow, I take everything back. In all fairness, there is a small waiting room with some more seating that will protect you from the elements. As for the surroundings, you may notice that there are a lot of parking lots for cars. There aren't really any parked airplanes nearby. We're actually not very close to the terminal of O'Hare here. Now this is O'Hare Transfer Station, but how do we get to the airport terminal? We first have to head towards those parking lots, which actually also house the rental car facilities. You can smell the jet fuel walking here. Just follow the signs that say Airport Transit, and after a very short walk, you'll see a large building that is the O'Hare Multimodal Facility. Besides rental cars and parking spots, this place is home to the O'Hare Airport Transit System, that cute little people mover that was the subject of one of my most watched videos ever. Thanks to everyone who contributed to that. This escalator takes you straight up to the platforms, and it's never more than a few minutes wait to hop on a shuttle. From the metro station to the ATS terminal is less than a 5-minute walk. It is outside, however. The O'Hare Airport Transit System uses driverless vehicles, and the trains run every few minutes, so it's quite convenient. Furthermore, they stop at all of the O'Hare terminals plus this multimodal facility. It adds about 5 to 10 minutes to your travel time. So now we've ridden the Metra North Central Service from Union Station to O'Hare, and we've transferred to the airport transit system to get to the terminals itself. Is it a worthy alternative to get to O'Hare? Well, as of right now, I would not seriously consider North Central Service to be a serious competitor to the Blue Line, or even to driving, and there are 4 main reasons why I think so. Its price, its speed, O'Hare Station, and the frequency of service. $6.25, of course, is more than the $5 passengers can pay for the Blue Line. I don't want to go too much into price, but I do believe that people would be willing to pay a slight premium for a high-quality service from the airport to the main train station, something the North Central Service currently is not. Part of high quality would mean upping speeds on the route. I'm not an engineer, so I don't know if it's possible to speed up the exit out of Chicago Union Station, but what I do suspect is that freight trains on the Canadian National Line may occasionally hold up passenger trains. The current line is already double-tracked, and there are extra sidings along the entire route to O'Hare. I would propose dedicating a pair of tracks to passenger service. A step beyond that would be to electrify the passenger tracks. Hey, a guy can dream, can't he? I think it's absurd that Metra owns so many of their own tracks, but only one line is electrified. Instead, Metra continues their little love affair with the polluting EMD locomotives, but that's the subject of another video. Not only would electrification be good for Metra's environmental impact, it would also allow trains to accelerate and brake faster, reducing travel times. Now, O'Hare Station is a little bit of a problem. It doesn't exactly scream, "Welcome to Chicago." Can you imagine people arriving on a winter day waiting with their suitcases on this cold slab of concrete? I don't necessarily think its location is a disadvantage because the airport transit system provides fast and frequent access to all the terminals. What needs to improve is the connection between Metra and the ATS. Build an annex to the multimodal facility and have the O'Hare Express trains terminate at tracks underneath a new roof. Finally, there's the issue of frequency. 6 trains a day? Seriously? One of those 6 trains doesn't actually even stop at O'Hare Transfer, it passes through. I understand that the northern suburbs may not yield enough passengers to justify high frequencies all the way to Antioch, but if we have separate passenger tracks and extra platforms, as I mentioned earlier, Metra could introduce a dedicated O'Hare Express service at high frequencies. Here's how I imagine that service would look. A dedicated fleet of multiple units running between Union Station and O'Hare, stopping at Western Avenue. These trains would have plenty of luggage space on board. Both at Union Station and at the airport, there would be special signage pointing towards the train. Departures could be displayed on dedicated screens in the train hall and at the baggage claim at the airport. Why do I think this would work? In other words, why should Chicago make this investment? Let's face it, the Kennedy Expressway is often backed up, and Blue Line trains are so full of people from the airport that there are little seats left over for the regular commuters. Furthermore, the Blue Line stations in the middle of the highway are loud, train cars are dirty, fellow passengers just don't always make the journey a pleasant introduction to Chicago. A fast, frequent, and modern connection between the city and the airport could dramatically change the way people travel. What could be better than just showing up and getting on a train? No parking necessary. And what better first impression of Chicago than the magnificent Union Station Hall? Alright, so before we move on to the final part of this video, I just kind of wanted to talk about what inspired me to make this video. So since moving to Chicago, it's been my goal to ride all the Metra lines. So far, I've gotten 9 out of the 11, and you'll see all of them appear here on the channel if you haven't seen them already. And I went to ride the North Central Service in July and rode it to O'Hare Transfer. Later that day, was talking to my dad who had to go to the airport the next day. And when I told him I took Metra to O'Hare, he was like, "Oh, maybe I'll do that tomorrow. Saves me a lot of time on the Blue Line." And then I had to tell him that there weren't going to be any trains for the time that he wanted to get to O'Hare. And he said, "Well, that's dumb." And I agreed with him. So then I got to thinking, how could we improve at least part of the North Central service so that it becomes an O'Hare access train? Now, I'm not the first person ever to come up with this idea, and I'll admit that. This video is largely my own thoughts and my own vision for how this train should look, but there have been others saying that Chicago should have a fast airport rail connection, and one of those groups is the US High-Speed Rail Alliance. I really encourage you to check out their website. They have a lot of cool ideas about how to connect different regions in the United States with high-speed rail, something I think that the US is decades behind on compared to other countries. And on their website, they have a specific O'Hare Express page. And on their page, they're talking about a train that would take 25 minutes to get from downtown Chicago to O'Hare, and it would cost $10 according to them. There are a few areas where we differ in our thoughts. They think that the train should leave from Ogilvie Station rather than Union Station because Ogilvie Station is easier to navigate. I think it should leave from Union Station, if only because this train would be taking Metra and Canadian National tracks, and Ogilvie is a Union Pacific station, so it would require, switching from tracks. And second, I didn't know how to pronounce Ogilvie until I moved to Chicago. Ogilvie Station is close to Union Station, but it doesn't have the grandeur and the name recognition that Union Station has. So for track efficiency and for really getting people to a place that says welcome to Chicago, I think they should stick to Union Station. However, the High Speed Rail Alliance shares the idea that O'Hare Transfer should be the station where this express goes to, although they do suggest building a tunnel to the terminals for more direct access. Now, I think that would be a great idea, but I think building a large terminal station would be a more realistic project than digging a huge big railroad tunnel. Finally, if we keep looking on the website of the United States High-Speed Rail Alliance, we'll see that they also have a vision for what they call Crossrail Chicago. Basically, this is just an expansion of their O'Hare plans. So in the near future, Amtrak is actually building a new ramp that will allow several of their trains from the south and the east to get to Union Station faster. And what the High Speed Rail Alliance is proposing is that certain Metra trains that currently don't serve Union Station also take that ramp. For example, Metra electric trains could pass through Union Station and then head up to O'Hare. Furthermore, they propose that Amtrak Midwest trains do the same thing and continue after Union Station to go to O'Hare. And I think that could be a great idea because so many slots at O'Hare are wasted by flights coming from relatively close cities that really the train could be a better alternative if it was easier to get to O'Hare. However, the one challenge with this plan is that Chicago Union Station really only has a few through tracks, and those would get heavily congested if so many trains ran through the station. For right now, I hope that I was able to at least share my ideas of an airport express train in Chicago with you. I think Chicago has all the tools to make a really great product, and I'm really hopeful that one day in the future we will see an improvement in this connection. Thank you so much for watching this video. We have a lot of cool stuff coming on the channel, including some holiday themed content because it is almost December. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to Trains Are Awesome, and we'll see you next time.